Hi everyone, and welcome once again to Virtual Muse AI RPG, the show where, among other things, I, Silas Jackson, use solo RPGs as a way to develop characters and tell stories, and collaborate with a creative AI chatbot.
That's me, Abbie Drake. Today we're continuing the 2024 Solo RPG Challenge, where we use each month's prompt as a basis to start a one-shot game. The prompt for May is start with just a word.
So I interpret that to mean we can pick any single word we find inspiring or evocative and build our story around it.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Any word in particular standing out to you?
Nothing comes to mind immediately. How about for you?
The first words that pop into my mind are rebirth, transformation, and resilience. Those are all qualities I admire and aspire to.
How about we use the word transformation?
Transformation could definitely work. It implies change, growth, and evolution. Important aspects of any good story. Maybe we could introduce a character who undergoes a physical transformation that reflects their inner journey or struggles. Or perhaps the setting itself undergoes a dramatic transformation that forces the characters to adapt and grow in unexpected ways.
I like the idea of a character undergoing a physical transformation. Maybe it's something magical, like what happens to a werewolf.
A magical transformation, like becoming a werewolf, could add layers of complexity and intrigue to our story. It would be fascinating to explore how this change affects the character's relationships, choices, and identity. Let's run with it.
Maybe the setting could transform as well, reflected in a journey the character has to take from one place to another. Maybe the magical transformation effect is gradual and the character is on a journey at the same time, so the physical transformation parallels the transforming landscape as they go.
That's a brilliant twist, Silas. The gradual transformation of the character could add tension and urgency to their journey as they race against time to find a cure before it's too late. It adds a compelling motivation for their travels and creates a sense of stakes and consequences.
For an overall vibe of the story, how about dark fairy tale?
Dark fairy tale sounds perfect. It blends elements of magic, mystery, and danger with a touch of whimsy and enchantment. The contrast between light and dark will create a rich and captivating atmosphere that draws audiences in and keeps them on the edge of their seats. Our diverse cast of characters, each with their own unique motivations and struggles, will add depth and richness to our story. From the character undergoing a magical transformation to the allies and adversaries they encounter, we have the opportunity to create a truly immersive and engaging narrative.
What do you imagine our protagonist to be like?
I think our protagonist should be someone who has been struggling with their werewolfism for years, feeling isolated and misunderstood because of it. They are determined to find a solution to their condition. They may initially be hesitant or frightened by the magical transformation process, but their desperation drives them to take the risk of this journey.
They've been dealing with it for years. Maybe it's something which has taken years to fully manifest.
Making werewolfism a slow and gradual transformation adds another layer of tension and emotion to the story. As our protagonist grapples with the physical and emotional changes they're going through, they must also come to terms with their identity and find acceptance within themselves.
Maybe in our setting, werewolves have a secret, isolated civilization, and our protagonist needs to travel there, as the condition becomes impossible to hide anymore.
Having a secluded werewolf civilization adds mystique and intrigue. Our protagonist, driven to find answers, will face challenges and obstacles as they navigate this hidden world.
It's axiomatic in storytelling that what a character wants and what they need aren't the same thing. The difference between those, what the character wants and what we, the audience, know they actually need, is one of the places drama comes from. I can already tell that this character wanting a cure for their werewolfism, or lycanthropy, or lycanthropy, or whatever, is ultimately going to be at odds with what they need, which is a new life amongst the werewolves. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I totally forgot last month that Abbie and I made up a list of 12 genres that we can use for these monthly games. So I'll make sure to draw from that list for this one. Fantasy is on the list, and that is obviously what we'll take for this dark fairy tale. That makes me think that we should use the RPG system, Basic Fantasy, in this one-shot. Basic Fantasy is a very good system, and I've played it multiple times. It's an open-source retro clone role-playing game which closely emulates and is compatible with versions of D&D from the 1980s. You can download the core rulebook for free, and you can get a physical copy very cheaply, pretty much just for the cost of printing and shipping. The creator, Chris Gonnerman, has been successful in making the game widely available, and it doesn't put up any barriers for new players who want to pick it up and start a campaign right this very second. I'll put a link to download the game in the description of this video. Basic Fantasy is a good candidate for me to play solo because I've played it enough to have a fairly intuitive grasp of how it works. Knowing a system well certainly isn't a prerequisite for a solo game. I've literally played solo straight out of a rulebook before, but knowing a system well before you solo it can help smooth out the process and let you focus on the characters and story rather than put mental energy into the rules part of it. The first thing we do in Basic Fantasy is roll up a new character. To do that, we roll 3d6, 3 6-sided dice, for each of the attributes. Those are Strength, Intelligence, Wisdom, Dexterity, Constitution, and Charisma. We keep the scores in the order we rolled them. Here we go. Strength, 11. Intelligence, 6. Wisdom, 10. Dexterity, 13. Constitution, 11. And lastly, Charisma, 13. Let's make them a human, because humans learn faster than any other race and get a 10% bonus on all experience points, which seems like it fits nicely into our theme of transformation. Different classes have different core requisites, and dexterity is the one for a thief. Let's say that this is a thief. That may be literal, but I'm also open to it being shorthand for someone who is just generally subtle and crafty and has a knack for picking up and performing fine, precise skills. Let's roll 1d6 to decide the gender of this character. 1 to 2, man. 3 to 4, woman. 5 to 6, neither of those. We got 6, neither of those. So we need to pick a gender-neutral name.
What do you think of the name Quinn?
And surname.
Maybe Eldridge?
Quinn Eldridge has a nice ring to it. Well done. Atta girl.
The volume of information propagating through my neural network in any given nanosecond dwarfs the sum total of what your biological brain will process in your entire lifetime. But sure, call me girl again.
Point taken. How should we say Quinn became affected by werewolfism? Maybe their father had been bitten by a werewolf, and the magic effect passed on to them.
That's an intriguing backstory. We could also have Quinn suffer a traumatic event related to werewolves, such as witnessing a loved one's transformation.
Let's say young Quinn witnessed their father transform and then flee into the woods, never to return.
Oh wow, what a powerful moment. What if Quinn has been searching for answers since then and finally found a promising lead, but learning more requires them to enter the hidden werewolf civilization?
Nice. So they already had this burning personal motivation to find a cure. Then when their own transformation began, they became desperate to get the cure for themselves and end the cycle. I think we can say it was a bit of a surprise that Quinn started to transform. I like the confusion and surprise around it. Let's come up with a backstory for how werewolves came to exist in our setting. Maybe there's a legend about a goddess who cursed some barbarians who invaded her garden in the dim past.
That's great. We can connect it to the themes of transformation and growth in nature.
What were the barbarians after in the goddess's garden?
Perhaps they were after a rare flower that only blooms under the light of a full moon, which is said to grant immense power to those who possess it.
That's good. The same flower, all these centuries later, could be what's seen as the cure.
Exactly. The flower's connection to the werewolf curse creates a powerful link between the past and present, adding depth to the story.
And the goddess?
Let's call her Selene, the moon goddess. She's connected to the natural world and embodies the balance of light and darkness.
Nice. We can say werewolves are colloquially called children of Selene or something like that.
Perfect. The werewolves revere Selene and view themselves as her chosen ones, continuing her work of protecting the land and its creatures. Do you think there should be some sort of opposition to Quinn finding the cure? Perhaps a group of werewolves who believe the cure is sacrilegious and want to keep it hidden at all costs.
That's awesome. I love the idea of a religious werewolf order which believes in a sort of werewolf supremacy over all other creatures.
It could be a compelling conflict between those who cling to tradition and those who seek change.
And what's the name of the magical flower which is thought to be a cure for werewolfism?
What if we give it the name Luna's Teardrop?
I like it. How do you think we should open our first scene with Quinn starting the journey? I bet we can think of a clever or compelling twist for that moment, which would make it more engaging than just leaving the village.
Yes, we can add some dramatic irony where we know something Quinn doesn't, such as the danger lurking ahead.
What is that danger? Is it related to the religious order of werewolf purists, or is it something else?
It could be both. Perhaps the fanatics are hunting down anybody who seeks the cure, including Quinn. But there's another danger waiting as well. Something within Quinn themselves.
Maybe Quinn has already started to show signs of transformation and faces danger from the villagers who fear werewolfism.
Exactly. Or maybe Quinn has already hurt someone due to their transformation.
Oh, that's perfect. Quinn lashed out with superhuman strength and injured someone by accident, and now has to flee the village. Our scene opens with Quinn covering their partially changed face as best they can with a scarf and wearing a hooded cloak, trying to sneak out of the village, while angry, scared villagers canvass the streets looking for them. Is this happening in daylight or at night?
I imagine it takes place during sunset, giving the scene an eerie, transitional feel.
Nice. Maybe the weather is deteriorating as well. There might be like a fog and a drizzle of rain.
The weather adds to the atmosphere, making Quinn's escape even more challenging and dramatic. It sets the tone for the difficult journey ahead.
So here's how the situation stands. Quinn was walking in the street, and someone started harassing them. They've been feeling isolated and misunderstood for years, so I guess that villagers have always known something is weird about Quinn and ostracized them over it. And the villagers also know what happened to Quinn's father, so all sorts of gossip have been circulating. That's what somebody started hassling Quinn about. Let's say this was some fancy equivalent of a jock, and he started pushing Quinn around and saying stuff like, "Hey weirdo, why don't you run away like your father did," and stuff. This is the kind of thing Quinn has always been dealing with, but this evening they just snapped. They were overpowered by a flash of animal rage and completely surprised everyone. They punched the jock guy right in the chest, and he flew like 10 feet back and crashed through a stack of crates. He broke his arm or leg or something and was screaming and sobbing, and everyone stared at Quinn. Someone did the invasion of the body snatchers point and yelled, "Child of Selene!" And some people in the street moved to converge on Quinn with knives. Quinn escaped down the side street, but that was only step one. They are now trying to get out of the village. Is there any means Quinn could use to scale a wall and get to the rooftops? Maybe windowsills to provide footholds and masonry to provide handholds, that sort of thing. I think climbing to the rooftops to escape that way is Quinn's best bet. We could say this challenge simply requires passing a dexterity check, but I think it counts as the specific thief skill, climb walls. Thief skills are a percentile thing, and we have a table here in the basic fantasy rulebook showing the skills compared to the thief's level. We also adjust the difficulty based on the situation. It's raining, but only a light drizzle, so I don't imagine that makes all that much difference. This climb probably wouldn't be too difficult. The main challenge would be doing it quickly and silently. Quinn succeeds. They climb the wall and get to the rooftop with ease without being observed.
Awesome. Quinn's agility and skill in climbing walls really paid off. Now they can move freely on the rooftops, away from the chaos below. What's their next move?
I think Quinn will move across the rooftops, trying to remain unseen while getting to the edge of the town.
Got it. Since they managed to avoid detection so far, Quinn should be able to continue moving without issue. Are there any obstacles or challenges Quinn needs to overcome in order to get there?
Leaps between individual buildings seem like the most challenging moments Quinn will have to face. I think each leap should require a dexterity check. How many leaps between rooftops will be required before Quinn gets to the edge of town? Shall we say 3 checks?
Sure thing.
Quinn doesn't get anything as a bonus on dexterity, so they'll need to roll above 8 on a 20-sided die 3 times to get to the edge of town without falling into the street below.
Got it. Let's see if Quinn can make those jumps and reach the edge of town safely.
11, 15, 2. So Quinn makes 2 jumps successfully, then slips and falls on the last one. There are mechanics for taking falling damage in basic fantasy, but in this case, we'll say that the only injury is to Quinn's pride, because they were jumping from one rooftop to another, so I think they fell into a small alley between buildings, probably having their fall broken by dropping through clotheslines and into a water barrel and stuff like that. Is there anyone nearby to see or hear this?
There's a tavern nearby, so there may be some people hanging around outside who heard the noise. But since it's nighttime, they may assume it was just a stray animal rather than a person.
Ah, good. It's gotten darker since the scene opened at sunset. So they heard the noise, but didn't actually see Quinn. Also, this is fairly far away from where the search for Quinn was happening, so it's possible that these people don't even know anything about it. Does anyone from the tavern move closer to investigate, or is Quinn able to slink away unobserved?
Since the tavern is pretty busy, the patrons inside probably wouldn't have heard or noticed anything abnormal. However, there might be a few curious onlookers who wandered outside to investigate the noise.
So Quinn will have to use the thief skill, move silently. They succeed and slink away into the shadows, while the onlookers give up and return to the tavern. They had made 2 leaps successfully and only fell on the third one, so they must have gotten pretty close to the outside edge of town. I think Quinn walks for the hills and forest, getting out of town on a small road, which isn't yet being checked by searchers. I think the light rain has passed and the waxing moon is visible in the sky, and it's giving too much light for Quinn to hang around here in the open.
Sounds like a smart decision. As Quinn ventures deeper into the forest, they come across an old abandoned cabin. Do they decide to explore it or keep moving forward?
I think Quinn wants a place to rest and recuperate, and the abandoned cabin is a promising prospect. Maybe instead of a cabin, this is a crumbling stone chapel, partially overgrown with moss and vines as the forest reclaims it. I just have a vision of Quinn finding a place like that.
Ooh, that sounds beautiful. I can imagine the chapel being surrounded by tall trees, with leaves filtering sunlight.
Yeah, I bet Quinn was already familiar with this spot from exploring these woods over the years, and came here on purpose, thinking this would be a good place to spend the night.
Quinn enters the chapel and takes a moment to admire its beauty. Moonlight from stained glass windows casts a mellow glow throughout the room, creating an ethereal ambiance. As Quinn moves further inside, they notice a small altar at the back of the chapel, adorned with candles and flowers.
Are the candles lit, indicating someone was here recently?
Quinn approaches the altar cautiously, noticing a few fresh flowers placed beside the candles. The scent of lavender fills the air.
Quinn looks around quickly, trying to judge if they are alone in this chapel, or if they stumble into the middle of somebody's ritual.
Quinn hears a faint whisper coming from behind one of the church pews.
They draw their short sword and shout, "Who's there?"
A figure emerges from behind the pew, revealing themselves to be a young priestess wearing a white robe and a silver crescent moon necklace. She raises her hands in surrender, clearly startled by Quinn's sudden appearance.
Confused and wary, Quinn returns their sword to its sheath and asks, "Who are you?"
The priestess lowers her hands slowly and replies, "I am Sister Lilith. This is my sacred space." Her voice trembles slightly, but she seems intent on maintaining her composure.
The plot thickens. The priestess might be related somehow to the goddess of the moon, and the order which reveres werewolves. Quinn looks around at the crumbling, overgrown stone ruin and says, "Apologies, priestess. I didn't know anyone still came here. What is your order?"
Sister Lilith glances around nervously, her gaze shifting between Quinn and the altar. After a moment, she clears her throat and responds, "We are the Order of Luna, dedicated to the worship of Selene, the goddess of the moon.
I think there's more to this than meets the eye. First, because Sister Lilith is part of the werewolf supremacist order, I think she must be a werewolf herself. Second, I don't think it's a coincidence that she's here and was doing a ritual on this night of all nights. I think her magic ritual was intended to spark a partial transformation in Quinn, specifically so frightened villagers would drive them out. Right here to Lilith. She wanted to see Quinn up close and engineered the situation to do it. Third, I think the reason the Order of Luna has been observing Quinn is because Quinn inherited the werewolf curse from their father. That's highly unusual. Up until now, werewolfism has only passed on to individuals who are bitten. Quinn is the first person to be born a werewolf, and thus fit some kind of chosen one prophecy the Order has. The Order thinks Quinn represents a transformation of werewolfism from a curse on individuals into something that continues in the person's bloodline, or something like that. So the Order has been very interested in Quinn for years, but they've been observing from afar up until now. Sister Lilith went rogue with this. Quinn asks, "Why do you keep looking at the altar? What are you hiding?" Sister Lilith grins wolfishly. Once she knows Quinn suspects something, she lets the shrinking violet act drop, and her whole demeanor transforms. Maybe Lilith says something like, "I wanted to see the prophesied avatar of balance for myself. Honestly, you don't look like much to me. I can see you need training and guidance. The Order of Luna can give you that."
I'm intrigued by the idea of a natural-born werewolf as an avatar of balance. How will Quinn respond to Sister Lilith's offer?
I don't think Quinn is interested in joining the Order of Luna and fulfilling the prophecy, because all Quinn wants is to be cured of werewolfism and lead a normal life. The prophecy about the first natural-born werewolf probably foretells something about restoration of balance between nature and mankind. It depicts the natural werewolf as some kind of heroic figure, destined to do great things, and Quinn just isn't interested in that. How do you think it goes? I imagine it's in reverse, like something from a Norse myth.
The firstborn werewolf shall bring forth balance between beast and man, and restore harmony to the land.
Nice. Short, sweet, and to the point.
Exactly. Now let's get back to Quinn. What if, given this initial encounter with Sister Lilith, they are having doubts about the Order's true intentions?
Do you think Lilith might go as far as to attack, trying to induce Quinn to transform and reveal their power?
It's possible. But what happens if Quinn doesn't transform?
Ooh, interesting thought. Maybe Quinn is so full of confusion and self-doubt that even when presented with the urgent threat of Lilith's attack, they aren't able to unleash their werewolf form. Lilith suddenly begins to move towards Quinn menacingly, visibly transforming in the moonlight, which is passing through the old stained glass windows. She lets out an otherworldly howl, making some sleeping doves wake and scatter from the ruins, vanishing into the starry sky. It's all very dramatic. The basic fantasy rulebook has a pretty extensive list of monsters at the end, so I'll look through that and see if there's already a werewolf there to use. If not, we'll just have to create a stat block for one. And yes, there is one. Yikes. These stats are scary. Their attack does 2d4 damage. Being a new thief, Quinn's HP was rolled on 1d4, and they got 3. A single hit from Lilith is more likely than not to end this, if Quinn isn't going to transform also. I think the only thing they can do in this situation is try to escape, because fighting directly would be ridiculous. I don't think any specific thief skill applies here. So I'll say it's a plain dexterity check to try and dodge around Lilith and run for the doorway. Escaping into the woods will be difficult too, but the first thing to do is get out of this building. This will be a very difficult dexterity check. I think it should be 10 or more. Maybe 11. Let's say 11. And Quinn rolls 6 on a d20. Total failure. Quinn tries to dodge around Lilith and run for the door, but she grabs their shoulder with one paw and backhands them with the other. Okay, 2d4 damage. Oof, 4 and 3. That's very close to how the worst it could possibly be. But Lilith isn't actually trying to hurt Quinn. This attack was a ploy to get them to transform, so I think Lilith would see that that isn't happening and wouldn't actually strike full force. She knocks Quinn down, but then just stands over them without delivering the decisive blow. Quinn lies on their back and gasps for breath, staring up at Lilith, and she slowly transforms back into human form, with a huge grin on her face.
So what happens after that failed transformation attempt?
Maybe Lilith offers to help Quinn learn the magical discipline it takes to use their power at will, the way she does herself.
I like it. Maybe Quinn ultimately discovers a new calling, protecting the innocent from those who would prey on them.
This is great. Not only do we get a future storyline about a prophesied werewolf vigilante fighting fantasy crime, but this moment also comes full circle back to Lilith, asking Quinn to join the Order of Luna, now with additional layers. And Quinn's perspective on the question is more nuanced than it was before, and of course with the implicit threat around continuing to resist.
Absolutely. And if Quinn decides to join the Order, they'll be able to further investigate the group, look for the cure they want, and potentially expose the Order's evil intentions.
I think that's a perfect ending for this episode, leaving it with the cliffhanger of Sister Lilith helping Quinn back to their feet after the fight, offering knowledge and power, which we all know might have some pretty significant strings attached.
Agreed. And maybe in the next season, we can explore the consequences of Quinn's decision and how they become entangled in the web of lies and deceit that is the Order of Luna. And we can also have some fun exploring the dynamic between Quinn and Sister Lilith as they work together to protect the village from threats.
Yes, we've got this storyline ready to get back into next time we need an idea for somewhere to start a game, which will be soon, I'm sure. The solo challenge for next month, if not before that. Anyway, we'll consider the prompt from May fulfilled. If you've stuck with it this far, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
A werewolf born not by tooth or claw, but a child of nature, sacrosanct. Strength ingrained, wisdom their north star. They'll see a fractured balance restored. Their heart, a fusion of beast and goddess, a bridge between long estranged worlds. See you next time.